This is Arnold Schwarzenegger if he was a tech-savvy white rapper. Okay, here we go. Arnold Schwarzenegger if he was a tech-savvy white rapper. Bang 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 yeah yeah. Stop, collaborate and listen on. It's about with the brand new invention, something that's holding me tightly, flow like a harpoon daily and nightly. Willing to stop down, down now. Look at my teeth like a flower broke. To the scream of like a mic like a band. Out of a stage, but you top like a candle. Hi, 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 hi,
We all know he's the party starter. So if you want to listen to a podcast for free, listen to A Pocket Party.
And we're back. Hey, everybody. World touring, traveling comedian, business entrepreneur. I hope I said that word right. Artist, and just a positive all-around good guy from the Midwest. Here he is from his lair in Kansas City. Here's Steve Kramer. How are you, buddy?
That's right, and I'm here with my favorite of all-time comedians, Darren.
So good to be with you, man.
Dude, it's great to be with you, man. You know, you and I are both friends, I would say, of the world famous Pablo Francisco. One man. Are you in good hands? Like, get down. It's so cool because, you know, you got to tour with Pablo for a number of years, and you know, we've been talking on the phone. And we'll get into what you're doing in Kansas City. He's building a whole complex. It's amazing. And but last night I was reminded. I was like, you know what? Let me just look up any clips of. And the first one I punched in that grabbed my attention was like, I was like, damn, it was you and Pablo on a morning news channel together, and it was just feel good, fun, rapid fire impressions and voices and comedy. And that's kind of like if comedy were to be on a radio station, especially when I like the first 10, 15 years of my comedy. That's where I would have been, you know. Now, as time goes by, you get a family and you learn to make little things funny, you know, whatever, without doing all the impressions and voices. But man, just you guys are so good at it. And I was like, it was just, man, I'm just laughing my ass off going, man, just the art of that. Like, I think you guys were doing, it was so silly, which is I love. It was, I think Arnold Schwarzenegger massaging different celebrities, and you guys are so fast. He was like, "Oh yeah," and then I don't remember the voices. It was like boom, and then this guy comes in, and you know, it was just so good.
Yeah, we would switch back and forth. One of us would be Arnold, the other one would do the different impressions, and then we'd like throw in these little tags like Arnold Schwarzenegger massaging John Travolta after he got back from the beach. How do my lips taste? Shandy, you know, stuff like that. But I never really thought about that from that perspective, but I actually agree with you a lot, you know, especially, I would put you in the same category as guys like us, because you do so much with, you know, beatbox and music, and you do impressions as well, and so much with your voice. And that sort of thing, you know, would have gone over very well when all we had was radio. And I think also, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this, but before everything kind of transferred over to social media, you know, whenever, it was probably the same for you, but whenever I would show up to a town, all I had to do was ride with the owner, the club owner, to the radio stations and just do all of my musical bits, all of my sound effects.
Yeah.
And that stuff goes over so well on radio that it was almost a guarantee that a lot of people would show up. It just, that sort of thing goes over very well on radio. And so I'm sure it was the same for you. And now it's like a different scenario. It's almost like having to figure everything out all over again, but through social media.
Yeah, you're right. Because back then I could just give them little samples of stuff that didn't even have to make sense. And they were just like, I picture they're just in their car going, whoa, this guy's a machine. I'd be like, I'm crazy. Kermit Frog. And I would just be like, you know, like, it sounds corny, but like, that's literally what you would do. You know, I'd throw in some beatboxing, and then then the phones would light up, and then they would be like, he's in the studio. You just wind him up and let him go. that kind of thing. Robin Williams was a big influence on me. So, back in 89, 90, when I started, I would just see him like, no, got you just keep it going. Everything you pick up is funny. And then, it would work.
Yeah.
It would work.
I got a late start because I had like a really strict childhood, and I didn't.
Me too.
So I didn't get to see my first Saturday Night Live episode until I was like in the 7th grade. And the very first one I saw was Dana Carvey. He was doing the Chopper Broccoli, and he did a bunch of impressions. And so he was like a huge inspiration for me. And I was already doing impressions in school. So that was the first time that I thought to myself, maybe there's a business in this.
I'm laughing because I said Robin Williams, and then you're like the next generation. You said Dana Carvey. I should try to act all young. No, I meant PewDiePie. I was on YouTube. I was watching PewDiePie, and it's a big inspiration to me.
Yeah, but you know what's funny though about that is that Robin Williams, I remember watching whenever he was on Mork and Mindy, when he first got started. But then, I mean, he's in one of my all-time favorite movies, which is I can't believe I'm forgetting the name of it. Good Will Hunting, and he's been in so many movies through like 3 decades, 4 decades. And so the funny thing is that you actually don't have. Sorry, that's my phone right there. I thought I put it on vibrate. So Robin Williams could be like from the Dana Carvey period as well. But yeah, I'm curious to know if you also, because that's one of the similarities that Pablo and I have. We both have like severe ADD, and that was the name of our cartoon show that we came up with, was ADD. And but I think the HD or the ADD has something to do with it ties into when, especially if you're by yourself and you're bored and you can hear these voices and you're able to somehow craft them into something. Was that kind of the same for you?
Yeah, and in fact, with my stand-up, it's perfect, right? I remember when my son, he's 13 now. When he was about 3 or 4, we thought, and the doctor said, we don't know if he has ADD, we don't know, and then the doctor gave us this nice little speech. He said, there's many, many careers that you could have, and be fine. So it's like, don't let it, and I just remember thinking like, wow, I think he's right, because you can, especially as a comic, like I noticed when I'm on stage, the one thing I had to be careful of is sometimes my mind, I had this thought I wanted to convey, and my mind would sometimes skip the little bridges, like the explanation parts. I'm like, just get to the funny part, because I can't wait to tell you this. And it's funny now during this COVID time, I've been editing videos, and I'm like, oh wow, I wish I would have just explained it just a little bit more. But now I can do it through texting, But yeah. I can put closed captions on the screen of what.
Yeah, I saw your video the other day where you kept saying boring over and over. I was laughing so hard. I showed my business partner with the comedy club. And
thank you.
I was actually going to draw a picture of you today before we meeting, but I couldn't find my Apple Pencil this morning. I had my daughter over the weekend, and she was drawing with it. Who knows where it's at now? Yeah. But I'm sure I'll find it at some point. But I mean, I was always going to draw a picture of you at some point anyways.
Oh, I think I have that sound clip. Let me see. Can you hear it?
Boring. Yeah.
Is it saying it boring? Yeah.
But yeah, that was one of the things that when I remember the first time I saw you at Stanford's in Westport, and I'd never seen your show before. Oh, it's a phenomenal room. And I remember when I went in there and your very first opener, like you started going into the and getting everybody excited, and I was like, wow, what a phenomenal opening to a set. And you just had them like eating out of the palm of your hand, like right from the get-go. And I was a big fan right from the get-go, right from the start.
Thank you.
And yeah, and I've always look at guys like you and guys like Pablo, I think in a different way than other people do. I know sometimes, I don't really understand the hierarchy of how other people put it, but for me, I hold you up on a higher pedestal for that reason, because you have these, gifts, these talents that God blessed you with. And to see you using those to make so many people laugh, it's been super awesome. But yeah, that was also, yeah, absolutely. You like some of the same music. You like, you tie in your, the different things that you do with your skills up on stage. I always tell any comic, it doesn't matter what you do. I don't care if you can juggle, no matter what you can do, if especially if no one else is doing it, then when people say, oh, the comic that juggles, shovels or whatever.
Yeah.
Then people, oh, I saw that guy, and it helps them to remember you. And so I've always believed in that very strongly. But we were talking about the radio thing and doing the different radio bits. They work really well on radio. Well, as soon as I started doing like television interviews, I wanted to add something like a visual to sort of get them sort of hyped up for it. So I don't know if you've ever seen me do this or not, but this is something I do when I do on radio or when I do television. And this is...
How do you like the show so far? Pretty good, right? By the way, here I am acting with John Travolta in the movie Be Cool. Check it out. If you like the show and you want to show your support, every little bit helps. Go to DarrenCarter.com. I'm on PayPal or Venmo at Darren Carter Comic on Venmo. Also, I'm available on Cameo. Also, Jemmy. All right, let's get back into the show. Oh, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.
This is Arnold Schwarzenegger if he was a tech-savvy white rapper. Okay, here we go. Arnold Schwarzenegger if he was a tech-savvy white rapper. Bang 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 yeah yeah. Stop, collaborate and listen. On is about with the brand new invention, something that the how me tightly flow like a harpoon daily and nightly. Willing to stop down and down now. Look at my teeth like a blouse with broke. To the scream of like a mic like a band. Out of a stage, but you top like a candle. Hi.
That is amazing. That's amazing.
Actually messed it up a little bit. It was supposed to turn the volume down, but it was on pan for some reason. So it just kept panning back and forth, but it was still kind of cool. I love like incorporating anything like that with music and impressions. And I know that you do as well. And I know that also certain areas, they like that type of comedy more than in other areas. And Kansas City is one of those places that they really like that kind of comedy. So that's why you were the first people that I reached out to whenever we first started putting this thing together.
That's amazing, man. Thank you. It's it's funny because I like to do like feel good fun comedy that just gives people that good laughter. I'm not trying to make them, I'm not trying to preach on stage or here's what I read in the news. I'm going to change your opinion. And there's people that do a great job at it, but I'm not one of them, and I don't want to be one of them. And I don't like watching the news, to be honest with you. Like lately we've been watching Cobra Kai and Three's Company, and just like, I just want to, you know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm drawn to. And it's are you a Star Wars fan as well? I'm sadly, I'm not a Star Wars fan. I never even saw any of the movies until our son was, he got into it for a while, and I went to like one of the Star Wars movies, and I didn't know who was who, and I don't know, to be honest with you, it wasn't bad. It wasn't for me. You know what I mean? Like, and I will tell you this, there was definitely like, I liked the movie, but it just wasn't. I didn't have that connection with it. Something
tells me that if you would have seen it when you were a kid, then you would have been all in on it, and you probably would have written some amazing Star Wars bits on stage. I can only imagine. But the new series, by the way, the new Mandalorian series, you don't have to know anything about Star Wars. It's a phenomenal series.
Okay.
I bet you and your son would love it. So you guys should check that out.
Yeah, I'll check. It's funny. Enough people have told me to check it out. It's going to be one of those things I'm going to watch and be like, why didn't I watch this sooner?
I promise you, if you watch just the first 20 minutes, you will be sucked in, and you'll be like, okay, this is a really, really good show. Yeah. They knew what they were doing. And plus, I mean, did you see the movie Iron Man?
I don't remember if I saw that one or not. I like the superhero movies that are a little bit more realistic. Like I like the Spider-Man ones. As a kid, I like the Superman ones. I like the Incredible Hulk. If it's too much CGI and shaky cameras and explosions, I get lost. I'm like,
I'm the same way. That's why I didn't really like the newer Star Wars, because it was too much candy, and it didn't look real anymore to me. But the best Star Wars was probably The Empire Strikes Back, and the series has that type of a feel. And the reason I brought up Iron Man was because the guy that did the original Iron Man, which was hugely successful, Jon Favreau, he's the same guy that did the Mandalorian series.
Oh,
and it's very well done.
Is he from Swingers? From Swingers?
Yeah.
Jon Favreau. Okay.
Hey, have you ever seen the movie Made? MADE?
Yes.
I don't know if you remember Chicken.
Yeah.
Chicken turned me on to that movie, and I was over at his house. That was the same weekend as the Super Bowl, Patriots versus Rams, when Tom Brady won his first Super Bowl. And we were watching that movie. I'd never seen it before, never even heard of it. And that's when I became both fans of Jon Favreau and Vince Vaughn. It's such a great movie. That's probably what launched a lot of Jon Favreau's.
Random question: Do you do an impression of Vince Vaughn?
I've been working on Vince Vaughn, but I'm not one of these guys that will try something, throw it out there. Well, let me see if I can do it, or unless I don't like to even.
Yeah, like I think I did impressions more like as a kid growing up, and then into my 20s, and then I kind of hung on to Snoop Dogg. That was like the one that I still will throw out there, but I find myself talking like somebody as I'm telling a story, but to do like the recall of like, I'm not, I don't know. And plus there's so many new people now and I don't know. I didn't want to be like, you know what I mean? Where here's John Wayne and Ronald Reagan, all these people that are, Mark Wahlberg, I think you do Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah.
Or something. That's what I saw, that clip from back in the day. I'm not asking you to do it, but if it comes out, hey, but I thought that was really cool because he did it so fast. I was like, gosh,
I like it. It's always Mark Wahlberg from Boogie Nights. He's like, huh? What? You want to fight? You saw me Transformers? Huh? You saw me Boogie Nights? I got a big ding dong. That's right. And that's just the tip of the Wahlberg. Huh? What?
Dude, that's great. If I was in my car and I heard that on the radio, I'd come down right now.
Well, that's another cool thing about doing cartoons is that I have because I do over 100 different voice impersonations, and so slowly but surely I'm building up my my catalog of people that I have these cartoon templates that I can just go to and just write something and throw it out on social media if I want to, or create a little movie like Pablo and we created an anime cartoon about Bruce Lee on cocaine called Enter the Dragon 8-Ball Z, and a very funny cartoon that we both wrote and did the voices for, and it's a lot of fun when you can do the different voices. But I don't know what it is about cartoons, but everybody seems to really like the cartoons.
Yeah. Now tell us about. Okay, there's a couple things. I know. You got a big break in television, and it was a pretty big deal, man. It was I think you were on a sketch show. Tell us a little bit about that and how that came about. And
yeah, I actually I auditioned from Kansas City, and I auditioned while I was doing a pharmaceutical study, and the first videotape that I sent in, they really liked it, and so my agent was like, they really like it. I need something by the end of today. Unfortunately, they let me, the pharmaceutical study let me go home and record a new video, but I sent it out there, the new video with what they asked for. And like 3 days later, I was signed on to this TV show, and like everything changed with my life.
Wow.
And I got to be on this show with a great cast. So many really, really good, talented people. Michael Roof Chicken, Frank Caliendo, Chris Williams, who's Vanessa Williams' brother, and very, very funny. Gavin Crawford. The female cast was stellar. Nadia Ginsburg, Shay Matosh, Kristen Nelson. Oh man, who else was on there? Danielle Gaither. I don't forget some of the, Jennifer Lee Cox, and it was just a really, really good cast. And so, and we had like the writers of the show, where the producers of the show were originally writers on Mad TV. So I think they were trying to compete with Mad TV. I think that was the whole purpose of it. But it was great. I got to do a bunch of impressions on the show. It was a lot of fun. But I also I like to do things where I explain to people like how I do the impersonation, like how I psychologically prepared for it. Like I tell people that like when I wanted to learn how to do Arnold Schwarzenegger, I rode on a horse for 3 hours with no on.
Yeah.
I tell them that I wanted to learn how to do for Godfrey. I would take some what do they call that? Of course I'm forgetting right now. What is it? An X-Lax. And then I would wait to see how long before I could go to the restroom. Oh, I should probably go to the bathroom very soon. And eat that. Or what's the other one that I do? I got like 3 or 4 different ways that I do like answers for the ones that I do. Do you ever do anything like that where you like you have to think of something in your head
all the time?
Clicks to help you do the impersonation.
Yeah, that's what was so weird about like going month after month without doing live stand-up. Like the first one I came back, I was a little rusty, so I did a lot of crowd work and improv, and it went great. But I remember after the show going, "Wow, I gotta like that." I'm glad I got that one out of the way. And of course, the next day I was back in business because of that warm-up show. And then I went back and I looked on my YouTube channel, and I was like, "Oh yeah, that's how that bit starts out." Okay, there. And then I was but that first night was like, yeah, it was weird.
Same with me. Yeah, the first night was. I don't want to say it was bad, but by my own standards, it was terrible. And I'm like the kind of person that if I have a show like that, I'll obsess about it for the full 24 hours. That's why if I ever have a bad show, I pray that it's like not on Sunday because or Saturday if Saturday's the last show, because then you have to wait like 3 or 4 days before you get back on stage.
Yeah,
you erase that show.
Yeah, imagine if we were like boxers. We might have to wait till our next fight, it might be a year later. I mean, that's just, and then the pressure. Then what if you lose that one? Now that's 2 in a row, and now you get in your head like, oh, do I still have it? Am I getting old? Am I slowing down? Yeah, who needs that life, man?
Yeah, I agree with you. That would actually be 10 times more pressure because they're probably going to be viewed by a much larger audience. Mm-hmm. And then everybody has access to that with their cell phones. And then like all you need is like these memes going out on Facebook with pictures of your face knocked out.
Yeah, exactly. My pillow. He's like asleep, all that stuff. They're just going to have a heyday with it. Some party starter, the party stopped, or whatever, it's like, yeah, man, I always.
Have you seen? I mean, I can't. I mean, everywhere I turn, I see this guy on television. All these commercials, and he just keeps coming out with new products. Like 30 years from now, he'll still be on TV looking like Geppetto, selling products. Yeah. Like, hi, I'm Mike Lindell, and if you like my pillow, and if you like my Giza sheets, you're gonna love my latest product, my diaper. Selling products to old people.
Yeah, my diaper. Yeah.
Like to go dance and not crap your pants, go to mydiaper.com. Exactly.
That's awesome, man. Hey, I got to tell you, I love Kansas City. I just have like this love for it. So as a kid, we used to go on these family vacations to visit my dad's parents, and we drive all the way from Fresno, California. We had a truck and trailer and a little camper, and we would drive and we'd go all the way to Arkansas, visit some relatives. And then the next week we'd spend in Kansas, near Kansas City, about 40 miles south, in a little tiny small town and down there. And so it was near Paola. If you've ever heard of Paola, Osawatomie, like those little tiny towns. And, in fact, they lived out in the boonies. Those were the nearest towns. So they lived in the boonies, and it was like, so I just, that was all during the 70s and the 80s. And I mean, where we would go was like a little bit behind the times. They didn't get one of my dad's mother. I don't think they got indoor like bathrooms until like 1980 or something. So I do remember like That was my, like, I just thought Kansas, that was my, and then I had a friend that was from Kansas City and he's like, dude, that's you're not talking about. And so anyways, but I do like, but as a kid though, we used to have snowball fights, cause we didn't really have snow where I grew up in California. And it was just great, man. I just picture like the lightning bugs and those little bugs called chiggers. And then like those, are they called crawdads? Those things that come out when it rains, like those little tiny lobsters or whatever those things are, those little crawdads or, or the wild dogs, the animals, it was just fun out there. I just had a great time. And then as a comedian, I got to, like you just said, Westport. I got to, I got to play Stanford and Sons and it was always just fun, man. Like just great shows. Like you said, the audiences love comedy and I got to do, all the big radio stations and the TV there. And it's just a fun, it was just fun, man. Being a real comedian, professional, touring, just, it's easy to get to. It's not like it's super hard to get to Kansas City. It's just,
Kansas City loves comedy, but especially your kind of comedy. They love the musical elements of it. They love high energy. They really go for that kind of comedy. And yeah, you're right. That's why I did the television show. And I've done some other really cool things. I actually did a short film with Chicken that we actually got to work with Ridley Scott doing some cool things with that. But the thing that has opened the most doors for me has been that Stanford's cartoon, because I've had people that I don't even know that have reached out to me and then called me and talked about how much they loved it just because of either the stories that they had heard about dealing with the Glazer brothers, or because they had dealt with them personally themselves. But I got a lot of miles off of that Stanford's cartoon.
Yeah. It's funny, man. And Craig, God rest his soul, he was a character. He just was an old school guy. This is before really big corporations took over comedy. And it just was especially when I first went in there, that first Westport location, it was just great. He was just a character, still smoking. They still smoked. You don't really see smoke like that anymore. The club, you could smoke. So the club was smoky. They were smoking. Yeah. His crazy stories. This is, and I think at that time, some of these celebrities weren't really celebrities yet. They might've been popular comedians, but they still would get in the car with the owner, Craig, and go do morning radio. That doesn't happen now with social media. And, now these guys are selling tickets even before the plane lands, it wasn't, but, back in the 90s, he might be driving around like Joe Rogan in his Porsche or whatever, the owner's in his Porsche. I'm assuming, I think Joe was in the passenger seat and they're going to do radio. That's just how it was done back then.
Yeah.
It's so weird, right?
From the way that it's done now. But I think that the hardest part has been the transition and figuring it out. But when you think about it, guys like you, guys like me, guys like Pablo, we actually have the tools that would make it, once we transition, that those would be a huge advantage for us. And so that's why, like I said, you and I were talking earlier, and I want to make sure I do talk about it, because the most exciting thing that I've got going on right now is this comedy club that we're putting together. Me and one of my best friends from high school, we're putting together just an amazing comedy club. We're going to be tying in the cartoons, and I will be animating my favorite comics that come to the club. So obviously you would be animated. And then I've created I purchased a domain name called Sketched Comedy. And so it's basically going to just be like a continuous loop of all these animated comedians. They just do one bit and it moves on to the next one. Red Roof, is it Red Roof Comedy?
Yes. From back in the day. Are they still around?
Yeah, they are, but they just sold for $1 million. Somebody was just telling me. And now you've got the Dry Bar Comedy, which is almost like the new. So I figure why not take it up a notch to the next level. Basically the thing, but it's just cartoons of these. So it'd be like an animated version of you. You do a quick little bit. It's funny, moves on to the next comic. And then just this solid rotation.
Yeah, tell us about before we wrap up. Tell us about the club in Kansas City that you're building. That you guys are. You're right now. You're in the office, and it's this isn't even your office. I don't think. I think that's someone else's backdrop. But tell us what this new club is.
Well, it's one of those things where you're probably the same, like traveling all over the place, all over the world. I would always say to myself, man, if I ever had my own club, I would definitely do something like that. I would run it like that. And so all of these things I always remembered. And so I set out to create like a super comedy club. And some things are just original ideas that like I've never seen anybody else do. So one of the things that we're going to have a beautiful stage, but we're building a balcony up in the side, and it's going to have those two angry Muppets from the Muppet Show. And they will be controlled via animatronics, and it's actually voice acting. So when I talk, like if I talk like this, then the mouth goes like this, and then it stops. So I speak with the microphone, and then I can do both of their voices, and they're going to tag team and heckle dudes in the audience before the show starts.
Oh, it's so cool.
Yeah, I'll have like a hidden camera that will find a dude in the audience, and like.
Oh, that's great.
Face, and like one guy will say, "Oh, hey, this guy looks like Johnny Depp." Yeah, if he swallowed Shrek, and then
yeah. Oh, you know where you can. I love I enjoy weird things like when we go to Universal City Walk or Universal Studios. I'm not really into the big rides. I'm not really into that. What I really enjoy is watching the Transformers because they have, I forget which one it is, like, but he does that where he's the guy in the suit. It's like a 20-foot tall robot, and he's like, "You there, ha ha ha! Look here, Earthling," or whatever. And of course, there's a guy probably with like behind the scenes, like saying the lines and stuff. But that's so fun. Just if you go on YouTube and you look up Transformers heckles people.
I think I've seen it. Does the guy look kind of like Bumblebee?
Yeah, it might be like Bumblebee or something. I don't remember. My wife would know. It's like Autobots or whatever. Just like. Yeah, they always make fun of somebody with the spiked hair. What is wrong with your hair? Well, I've been cutting. Yeah.
Well, I love the, as much as I know that another thing that hurts comics like us is the fact that you have a lot of these younger millennials. They can just sit at home and watch the comedy on their iPhones and their iPads.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I need to give them some extra reasons to come out to the comedy club. So that's why I've thrown in these things, almost like a ballpark. You see a hidden camera would zoom in on a couple at the ballpark. And so we'll do different things like that. We're going to have a really, really cool karaoke setup. We're going to have an awesome open mic night where the stage that's in there for the open micers, there's going to be a trap door. And if the new open mic don't see the light to get off stage,
that's hilarious.
Red lights and smoke will start pouring through the cracks of the trap door, and then these sounds of chains clanking will start playing over the speakers as if they're about to be dropped into the pits of hell. And we're free speech advocates. We brew our own beer and our own coffee. We're called the First Amendment Brouhaha, and it's going to be a phenomenal place.
That's going to be great because there's so many people that might want to make a joke about a certain this or that. And then they're like, hey, I might get banned off of this platform or might get blocked or, and with comedy, it's, we're there to, it's so great, man. Let me tell you, when you do live comedy and you experience it, like I just got back from Texas, just to see like, if a person only looks at, let's say, Twitter or something, they're going to be like, the world's scary. People hate each other. But then in the real rooms, you're seeing Asian, Mexican, white, black, Guatemala, wherever they are in the world, they're all in that room and they're just laughing. They're not. And then afterwards, people are like, saying like, hey, I've been dealing with these problems at home. And tonight was just, I needed this tonight. I needed this joy. And, and I said, hey, I needed this too. Like the comedian and the audience, and stand-up comedy is something, it's not like music. Music is its own thing. And I love music. It's great. But comedy is also its own thing because it's, what you just did earlier, even though it was music, you did with the iPad and you're just doing that. It made me laugh. I mean, it was just fun. It's funny and it's just great, man. Like comedy is just, they say laughter is the best medicine. They say that for a reason because it makes you feel good, man.
Yeah. And I don't like that. I don't care who you are. I don't care what your perspective is. I don't want to shut out anybody. And I want everybody to have the right to say their point of view. And it's their job, if they have a good point to make it, but do it in a funny way and change people's minds. But if you lose that ability to change their minds through humor, that's not fair to me. And so humor has always been such a great tool for changing people's minds and opening their minds and having them look at things from a different perspective. So I just feel like it's such an important, it's such an important tool to keep everybody. It's one of those great things that does tie everybody together. You get a room full of people of all different backgrounds, all different races, and they're all laughing at the same thing. And it's almost like they're connected somehow. It's so crazy how you know what I'm talking about. How they say that it's science that the laughter has healing factors, but also as soon as you make someone laugh, that person instantly, or as soon as someone makes you laugh, you feel instantly like they're your friend. There's an instant that takes place as soon as they make you laugh or you make them laugh. It's the craziest thing. I've never seen a bigger connector between two people other than making someone laugh.
So true.
Important.
In closing, let me ask you this. Do you have any words of wisdom, something you'd like to share with our audience that might make their life a little bit better, something you've learned along the way?
Yes. It's my own saying that I came up with, and I came up with it through my own journey and figuring things out on my own. But I have a saying that I have posted to the top of my Twitter page, which I never even use anymore. But it goes like this. It says, you can't explain big ideas to people who think small. Just do it and then show them. Because if you try to explain your ideas to the wrong people, they'll just shoot your ideas down. They'll say, oh, that'll never work. You can't do that. But if you have that mentality, even if someone hears about your idea and they say, oh, you can't do that, what are you doing? Then just ignore them, go do it, and then show them. And then when you show them, you'll be surprised when they say, wow, why didn't you ever tell me about this? I did. You just couldn't comprehend it at the time because you don't have the vision that I do. And so that's what I would say. Don't ever let people shoot your dreams down. If you know you have a really good idea, just go do it and then show them, because don't try to explain it. So many naysayers out there, so many people that they're not going to be able to think on your level. So
that's right. That's great. Hey, Steve, thank you so much. And hopefully the club will be opening. When do you envision the club opening, the comedy club in Kansas City?
September. And mark that down, all of you that are listening to this podcast that are fans of Darren Carter. Mark that date down, that month down, because I plan on bringing Darren in as one of our first comics. I'm a big fan of Darren's, always have been. And so you'll be one of the first ones, baby.
Yeah, man. I'm excited.
Version of you in no time.
Kansas City. All right. Well, listen, congratulations. I love seeing the progress and I love catching up with you. And please come on again. I'd love to have you back on. And I know you have so many stories and I can't wait to hear them and share them with my audience.
Absolutely. Thanks. It's great to see you again.
Thank you, buddy. Bye.
We're done with this interview. Pocket Party.